Phil Thompson joins us on the line at the minute. Phil, there's a sense that Liverpool fans just expect to go through against Porto, and it's the quarter-final of the Champions League. There needs to just be a little bit more nervousness and tension, I think.
Do you know what? I totally agree. I've just been thinking that this morning. Just been having my breakfast, and I was thinking that this is not the way it should be. This makes me a little bit more nervous. Normally, as you know, with those Liverpool fans, social media stuff, the rallying the troops, everybody's getting ready. It's a big game, it's quarterfinals, Champions League. Let's be ready. And I'm going, oh my goodness, we need to get up for this. And I'm certainly hoping the players will be. And Jurgen and his staff, they have to maybe sense it, feel it, and go, come on, lads, we've got to get and try and get them up for it. Because as we've seen of late games when Liverpool should be winning, we've not really turned up as we should be. And we're just getting through. I think this is absolutely huge. These Porto should not be taken for granted at all. And you have to be ready to meet it head on, because it is the champion. Yes, it was a good draw, but you have to be up and ready for it and motivated.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the good draw. Porto come out of the hat and everybody thinks, oh yeah, well, it was either them or Ajax, and then Ajax still has that little weird sense that maybe you don't really know what a team that young are capable of, and they don't know themselves. But because there's the experience of last season in this group and in this squad, that must give you some confidence that, notwithstanding the fact the fans probably are a little bit complacent, surely the players aren't.
No, well, you'd like to think. Now, just to explain that the players have got to be. Listen, what a fantastic run it was last year, and you know we had sort of Manchester City in the quarterfinals, and my goodness, you're seeing what that was like and how everybody was motivated. And then we had Roma. What a good team they were. That was semi-final, so everybody was sort of ready for it. But this one, it just seems to be so sort of, even in the papers, everybody's talking about Tottenham, Manchester City, how big, even the Manchester United game, which is a day later. And this game is absolutely massive. So what they gained from last season, that motivation, yet they may have been just bigger names in the realms of European sort of big teams. I think Porto have to be given massive respect and be ready for it. Now, I've been there and played in these games, and you've got to be ready for it. One thing I must say, guys, is that I think we need to get back to a clean sheet. I think, and this is maybe the game. The last 3 games, we've conceded a goal in them. Everybody's just took it. Oh well, it's been all right because we've won the games. Well, I think we've got to get back to that habit of making sure. And I think if we can get a result tonight with a clean sheet, a good result, a 1-0, a 2-0, I think that will be suffice, because I do see us scoring away.
Phil, interesting you're talking about defensive solidity there, and I suppose when you speak in those terms, not just about the defensive line, it's about that kind of protection that you get from that midfield 3 in front. As a former Liverpool centre half, I'd be interested in asking you, if you were playing that Liverpool as one of those Liverpool centre backs, who would be the midfield 3 that you would like to see in front of you? Klopp's got a number of options with the players who have come in this season. Fabinho's been a little bit in and out of the team. Henderson's come back in. Who would be the 3 ideally you'd like to see in front of you? Maybe in terms of have that real kind of defensive mindset and would give that back forward that little bit more protection that you're talking about in terms of keeping those clean sheets.
See, this is one of those games where everybody, you would like to think, oh, well, it's like Southampton. You thought Lallana wasn't even on the bench, but I was thinking Lallana plays or Shaqiri plays. That little bit of creativity from one of the 3. But when it's come to European football, and this is what I'm saying to you, is that we have to treat these with respect. So I think he'll go with a 3, sort of a solid 3 in midfield. Everybody was clamouring for Fabinho to come back in. How can he have not played in the game before Southampton? He needs to come back in. He played against Southampton, didn't have the best of games, and everybody's gone a little bit quiet on him. I like Fabinho. You've got to you can't play great every game. You have to know what your players possess in them, and I think he really gives it solidity. He's a good player as the whole midfield player. He can look forward more than maybe from that position what Jordan does. But he's got this great height presence as well, which he can shield the two centre-backs. And it's good in both ends of the box. So I would go for Fabinho. Now then, you see what Jordan... I always like Jordan. Henderson just seems to be the go-to man when anybody wants to give a bit of stick. He's the scapegoat. He's the one. I would play him to the right-hand side of Fabinho and let him go, because what he does, he possesses great energy. Let him go and close people down, win the ball high up. He can do that all day. But as he said after the game, he needs to get in the box more. Yeah. And the other one will be Wijnaldum on the other side, because I think he's a footballer's footballer, Wijnaldum. I think he's a really good, intelligent player.
Yeah, you can trust him, yeah.
Kenny, what do you think is going to happen here?
No, I'd agree with Phil actually in terms of that midfield three. I mean, Henderson, people got so used to seeing playing in that holding midfield position for Liverpool. But if you remember when he first burst onto the scene at Sunderland, I was there Sunderland last year, Phil, in professional football. Jordan was 15 years of age and he was playing right side of a midfield four, and he was an attack-minded player. I remember watching him play in training. He was looking to get into the box. He hadn't got that defensive mindset, so his natural inclinations to get into the opposition box, and he has the legs to do that. He's kind of disciplined himself to play more of a holding midfield position at Liverpool, and people automatically assume, well, he's a holding midfield player, but he's not. As a young player, he was actually an attack-minded midfield player. We've seen, you've mentioned there the game of Southampton, we've seen a little bit of that when you take the shackles off him and you put somebody in the team to complement him, like Fabinho, who's prepared, disciplined enough to sit behind the ball, who's actually happy to do that and allow the likes of Henderson and Wijnaldum, potentially Kate in the future, to get forward and hurt the opposition team in the last third of the pitch with those front three. That for me is more of a happy balance that Phil's talking about. Fabinho just sitting and the likes of Henderson giving him a little bit more freedom to get himself up and down the pitch.
I agree, because you look at Jordan's he's probably got the most energy out of all our midfield players, probably most of the squad. He can keep going for the 90 minutes quite easily. But you're right, when Jordan first came, even at Liverpool, he played wide on the right before all these different formations certainly before the three. And he was there, because you go when he first came, you're like, well, what can he do? Well, the one thing that Jordan could do was get up and down that touchline. Yeah. He wasn't a winger, but what he could do, he could whip the ball in. He was a great deliverer of the ball from that right-hand side. That was probably his forte before everybody understood that he had great energy. And I think we need to utilise that, not just give him one game of being allowed to sort of roam free, get forward, because it's one thing that our midfield has lacked, has been that goal-scoring prowess from anybody. I'm not quite sure how many goals we've actually got. It's not a great deal. That was one of the good things about Southampton. Keita got on the score sheet. Out of the 3 goals, Keita gets on the score sheet, Henderson gets on the score sheet. 2 midfielders, 2 sort of centre midfielders, if you want, and that was a real good plus point from Friday night.
Can I just ask you one last thing? Shaqiri seems to have disappeared as a late game option, and a lot of the Liverpool fans are wondering, did something happen? Is he not fit, or what's going on?
I really don't know. I don't know what happened to Henderson Lallana on Friday night. You know what? He's really come back in and made a big impact. He's one of those sort of that you can do it. You can go 2 holding midfield players, him in the middle, and then the 3 boys up front. But Shaqiri looks as though his darts fell out. The only thing I can explain, guys, is we're not privy to what goes on the training pitch all the time. As we know with Shaqiri at Stoke, he sort of blazed a wonderful trail when he first came into the Stoke side. He was doing everything, busy everywhere. Then when he got settled in the team, he wasn't that same player. Maybe I'm wondering if he's not training well enough. And I think Klopp's like that. You have to train as you will play on a Saturday. And if you don't, you're not in the side. And he can be like that, Klopp. And something tells me that he's not been training well enough, because he's quite, as you just said there, he was that go-to man 15, 20 minutes from the end. This fella can turn a game for you. This fella, you can put him up, you can score a goal. He's got an assist. He can take a great set piece, but he's not been using them. So something tells me he's still been on the bench of late. something tells me he's maybe not training as he should.
Phil, give us your prediction. What's going to happen?
I think we're going to win 2-0 tonight. I will have that clean sheet and we'll score 2. And I think, as I said before, guys, next week I'm quite sure we can score away from home as well.
Good stuff, Phil. Enjoy the game. Thanks a million.
Cheers, Phil.
Cheers, lads. Nice to talk.
It sounds about right. That's what should happen, right? But yeah, there's just this kind of weird sense, I don't know. And it's completely irrational. It's not based on anything. It's not based on the fact that Liverpool aren't playing well, because they are certainly well enough to beat Porto over 2 legs, but it's just that there's
you're just contradicting yourself, basically. You're trying to make an argument, but then you're shooting yourself. Are you getting that sense? Or you just you think you're getting that sense? I'm not getting that sense, to be honest with you.
It's the indigestion you have about the Spurs game. That's what you
No, I think the sound football and reasons why Spurs could get the better Manchester. If you want to listen to them, I can make that argument for Porto. I just don't think the mentality of this Liverpool team, I don't think it'll be a case of underestimating Porto, not quite turning up on them. This is quarter-final of the Champions. They're in the Champions League semi-final. If they get this job done tonight, they're as good as there. So you know what I mean? So I can't imagine there'll be any kind of lethargy with the Liverpool team. And just the tactical setup, I think, is absolutely fascinating. And going forward for Klopp, for me, the interesting thing is this kind of midfield 3. I don't think he'll sacrifice it, because it's not as simple as that in terms of patterns of play, the whole thing. He's committed to this system of play.
Well, answer the question you asked, Phil. If you're a centre-back, what 3 do you want?
Well, I tell you what, I've no problem dispensing with that midfield 3. When Fabinho came into the football club, I thought potentially Klopp was looking at an orthodox midfield 2, if Fabinho and Henderson playing as a 2, and that number 10 coming in to the team, whether it be Lallana, Shaqiri, whether it be Firmino playing off, Salah playing in there, but just flipping that midfield 3 into that kind of triangle. So you basically got 2 sitters. Now, I'm not saying Henderson has to sit there for the whole of the game. He can still spring forward from that position. But for me, at times, Fabinho and Henderson sitting as a 2 in there. If I'm a centre half, I want to see that a 2 in there sitting 10-15 yards square of each other in midfield. That's the kind of defensive protection I want. Very easy for those 2 to get across the pitch and shuffle across and double up with fullbacks. So he's, at least with Fabinho coming into the team, he's got that option. I think it will be a 3, and I've no problem with that midfield 3 there. Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson slightly in advance, and those 2 getting themselves sorted. Because Wijnaldum's got goals in him. When he first came to the club, he was scoring goals from that midfield position, getting into the box. Very good header of the ball. Wijnaldum arriving into the box, very strong header. So he's got goals in him. Henderson certainly has, for the reasons that we've said, but we haven't seen it because he's playing that holding midfield position. So that midfield 3, I have no problem. But going forward, for me, in terms of people talking about that lack of creativity that Liverpool's not, that's the answer. For me, Fabinho and Henderson, you could argue Keita, if he finds a bit of form, as one of those, an orthodox midfield 2, and then get that 4th attacking player in behind those front 3, and then you take your pick, whether it's Lallana, Shaqiri, whether you go out and spend potentially another 40-50 million pound player and blend that specialised number 10 in. But that's a big transformation in terms of how your team plays there, and Klopp's never really committed to that. He likes that midfield 3 in terms of how he goes to press, high energy. Doesn't like flipping and playing with that orthodox 10, but it's an option he has now with Fabinho coming into the squad.
Because he's the holding midfielder of the future.
Yeah, he's got an orthodox central with those defensive attributes. I mean, I don't think that even Henderson, for me, naturally hasn't got that. He's disciplined himself to play that role at Liverpool.
Yeah, but
Henderson, it's not naturally. He didn't come up that way in youth team football, just sitting in front of the back 4, just letting other players get on with a sliding across, making tackles.
He doesn't have the range of passing either for that position.
I don't know. I think I disagree with that. I think he's a better passer of the ball. Yeah, I think he's a better passer of the ball, Jordan, than some people give him credit for. No, he hasn't got the range of passing as a Pirlo and other orthodox playmakers in that area of the pitch. But his other attributes, that kind of athleticism, box to box, getting around, making tackles, disrupting things, keeping things simple.